How does that work? What?
That's it, we're getting screwed, aren't we? The working class people are getting screwed.
As if. It's ridiculous. Again, why?
Once people realise they've kind of been on a bad end of a terrible deal for a quarter of a century, they get very emotional and passionate about wanting that to stop. They want a fair system. They don't want the system that we have. Hi, my name is Dominic Humphrey. I'm here today to talk about the proportional property tax. I got involved with the Fairer Share campaign, having previously met the founder, Andrew Dixon, because my background is in sort of large-scale data analysts.
Hi, my name is George Div and I'm head of the Centre for Economic Justice at IPPR. IPPR is a progressive think tank. I lead the economy team at IPPR, and the question that we're trying to answer is how can we make the UK economy fairer and more just for everyone? In 2018, IPPR published a major report, the Commission on Economic Justice, chaired by the Archbishop of Canterbury. The question that commission set out to answer was how can we hardwire the UK economy for fairness? That looked at a whole range of policies, but one of the main things it thought about also was tax. Land value and property was not fairly taxed in the UK, and we propose replacing the existing system of council tax and stamp duty and replacing it with a fairer system.
We really want to change the system because we can see that it's going to be so much fairer, so much better for communities.
One of the biggest unfairnesses of the council tax system and the way it's calculated is the way different households, different properties pay different amounts every year. So the logical way to make that fairer and simpler is a proportional system. Scrap council tax entirely. Take away this artificial band system, take away the 1991 valuations, and replace it with a system which is proportional. That means, like income tax or many other taxes that you pay, you simply pay every year a percent value.
Proportional property tax is beautifully simple. You have a house that is valued by the market of the average house price of, say, £260,000, and your proportional property tax, which would replace the stamp duty, the council tax, all these other things, is just going to be the 0.48%. And you know that's always going to be the 0.48%. And as your kind of home changes in value, the amount of tax will change with that.
But it would see quite a radical difference in who pays the tax on a much fairer basis.
We're not looking to raise any more money, we're just completely revenue neutral. We don't think it's fair to add to the tax burden. Essentially, the 0.48% comes from the division of the amount we need and the value of all the homes in England.
It's more progressive because you simply pay a fixed percentage of that property's value every single year. It would raise about the same amount, but it would mean that it was fairer and that the amounts people paid would be more fairly spread across the country and across different wealth brackets.
So the key to having a kind of a good tax system on property, as we kind of see in other countries in the world, so sort of like Australia, New Zealand, is to make sure that it's up to date with property prices.
So if we were to implement a proportional property tax, we'd see a few major changes. First of all, the majority of homeowners in the UK would pay a lower tax bill every month.
The main benefit of the proportional property tax is that for 77% of homes in the UK, they're going to be looking at an average saving of £556.
Secondly, you would see a much bigger regional shift in the way that council tax is levied and where people pay the higher bills, and that would reflect where property prices are higher.
It would bring enormous financial benefits, and when I say enormous, for my constituency, which remember it's the worst affected in the country, it's £900 per household. 100% of my constituents would benefit from this. Across the whole of the country would be better off with a proportional property tax.
We would expect property prices themselves, the actual sale value of properties, also to adjust to that. It would make properties outside London, the South East, increase in value because there'd be a lower tax bill attached to those properties.
One of the things economists have always liked about this is it's also a sort of slight automatic stabiliser for property prices. So as houses get more expensive, the kind of share of tax that comes from them increases as well because it's proportionate to the rise, so you're paying a bit more tax, and that stops house prices getting out of control. And then similarly, when your house price is falling, which probably means the economy's not doing so well, your tax is falling, so it's kind of putting more money back into your pocket, putting more money back into the economy is helping you out when you most need it.
Thirdly, we think that if you were to eliminate stamp duty and roll it into a proportional tax that was levied every year, that would increase the number of property transactions. It would increase the economic benefit of that from having a proper utilisation of our existing housing stock.
And we had some great analysis using a kind of very high definition socioeconomic model run by Landman Economics. And this showed that our policy would in fact lower poverty itself across the whole of the UK by 0.8%, which is a great outcome for a tax that's cost no more to administer.
A proportional property tax system would be fairer in three main ways. One, it would be fairer and more evenly spread across people with different amounts of wealth. If you have a much bigger, more expensive home, you would pay the same percentage as someone with a smaller, less valuable home. Second, it would be fairer on a regional basis. If you live in an area with lower property values, you'd pay the same share as someone who lives in an area with much more expensive property values. That's currently not the case. And thirdly, it would also result in a stronger economy and a better, more functioning economy. By fairly taxing assets and wealth on a proportional basis, it reduces some of the strange disincentives which our tax system creates, and it would mean that the economy overall functions much more smoothly.
At a time when there's a cost of living crisis, when so many people are struggling to make ends meet and pay their electricity, their utility bills, their council tax, to have an additional £500 or £700 would be an enormous boost, and it would help those in the poorest communities